All right, guys, this is Tony with MTB Drop-In, and here we combine mental health and mountain biking to create this awesomeness that I call my channel. And today we're with the owner from SpokeX, and we're going to do some crazy crap today.
So how's it going, guys? Hunter, owner of SpokeX. So when I purchased this 165, I had in mind it's park oriented, it's a gravity bike. I didn't think that would be complete with just a single crown fork. We wanted to throw the dual crown fork on it. And what we want to do here today is walk you guys through an at-home installation of a downhill fork on an enduro bike. This will also work for a downhill bike. So yeah, I just wanted to run down a quick compatibility checklist with you guys. If you're doing this to an enduro bike that usually runs a single crown fork, first thing you got to do is you got to make sure that you have a hub that can convert over to a 20 by 110 boost. So what we're going to be using, we're running a 15 by 110 front Hydra, and we're using Industry 9's 20 millimeter boost end cap kit. Second thing you got to check is your headset. Now there's not too much information on this, and I had to do a little digging to figure out what headset we needed. The Yeti runs a 52 lower crown race and bearing. So what we needed to get was a crown race reducer, which shrinks a 1.5 down to a 1 1/8, because we're running a downhill fork, which uses a 1 1/8 steer tube.
All right, guys, so we're gonna head over to Home Depot right now so we can get some, I guess, stuff to help install this fork, I guess. So let's get on over there.
So we got to set the crown race. So we're going to bring the crown race into Home Depot. So we make sure the PVC pipe fits nicely around there so we can get a nice seat. Just like get my mouth. I'm hungry. We just left Home Depot. Unfortunately, when we went in there, they said we couldn't film. So unfortunately, we weren't able to show you guys exactly where everything was. But what we got here, a cutter. And this is just one of those really simple ones. This was about 15 bucks. We got a few paintbrushes, which is just for the grease. So you really don't even need to use these. You can use your hand. I just like these because it leaves a nice even coating. And then we got about a foot of 1 1/2 inch PVC pipe. You don't want it to hit the rubber. So you just kind of want it to seat over there really nicely. So I decided to run a direct mount stem, which is a stem that mounts directly to the actual upper crown of the Fox 40. That's going to be using a 35 millimeter diameter clamp. So this is a NV M9 bar, which uses a 31.8. So we're basically going to take this bar, this stem, and put them aside, which we would use to rebuild up when I put the single crown back on. And we're going to go ahead and reinstall the cockpit with the stuff that's compatible. I'm actually running OneUp's new EDC threadless carrier. One of the things I wasn't super stoked on the threadless carrier is you have to use this like mini storage container, which really doesn't fit too much. I mean, maybe you could put something really small in there, maybe like a couple master links. And so I'm going to show you guys dropping out the threadless carrier. Like I've loosened these stem bolts, and you know, it's still not going to go anywhere until I loosen down here. And you can kind of start unthreading it a little bit as I'm doing both. I'm twisting this way on this one.
Heck
Get that.
So you want to nerd out on some grease. Go nerd out on some grease.
So I just wanted to show you guys the grease that we use at SpokeX Bike Co. It's from Dumont Tech, and it's a micro-resistant grease. So basically the difference between this and like a muck-off bio grease or like a Park Tool Polylube is going to be that those greases are suspended in a lithium, which actually can long-term cause damage to carbon fiber. It also can cause damage to bearings over time. So this grease is actually suspended in a microgel, which is completely carbon safe, good for bearings long-term. And what it actually does is it creeps towards the little openings, like every little spot where you want your grease, this is going to fill in, and then it's going to create like a little barrier around it and really just give you the best protection. So we use this because it gives our bearings and the bikes that we build the best chance at long-term durability. Can we put like light behind it? One thing you're going to see differently on a downhill fork, well, first is this steer tube is a straight, so it's doesn't have the tapered steer tube that you see on the single fork crown forks now. Second thing is these crowns actually move. So this is going to be what goes between your head tube. So you want this to rest up against the bottom bearing down here, and then this is going to slide down and rest up against your spacers on the top. So this crown race is specifically for this bearing. So this is going to be a 52 lower bearing on the headset. This is like the most important part of the install. This crown race is absolutely imperative for your fork to function properly. You know, this is going to fit perfectly up to this lower bearing right here. But the most important thing is that the crown race is for a 1 1/8 steer tube, not a 1 1/2. So Cane Creek actually makes a steer tube reducing crown race, which is what this is. You know, there's really only this small lip right here for the crown race to set. So it's really not going to be that hard to get on versus you have a lot of room to cover on a single crown fork of, you know, really getting that thing to sit low. Here you only have, you know, 1/4 of an inch to seat that crown race. And you want to make sure it's facing up. Do not put it on this way. This is a PVC pipe that we got from Home Depot. This is 1 1/2 inch. So I know the steer tube is 1 1/8 inch, but because we're doing the crown race reducer, this sits way nicer on here. So you don't want it to go over and mess up this bearing at all. And I didn't want it to sit too far in. There's like a really nice lip on this crown race, so that's why I decided to go with the 1 1/2. And you want to use the side that like comes pre-cut from the factory. A lot of people use couplers, 1 1/2 inch coupler, but the problem with the coupler is that I've noticed, like, if you hit it too hard, it actually like goes over the whole thing and then breaks this this seal. I mean, it really is, you know, if you guys are going to be installing forks a lot, it might be a good investment to get a crown race setter from like Park Tool. But, you know, for a one-time install, I like this cheap method. You just want to make sure when it's set that it's all the way down. You don't want to have any gap on either side. First, you want to make sure your stack height is right. And then second, we're going to actually mount the direct mount stem to the top crown first and the bars. So we have like our whole top piece right here. Yeah, so you want to make sure two things. The angle on these Fox 40s, you know, it's going to cause, you want to make sure that the crown race really seats nicely into this lower bearing and it's all the way through, and that this is slammed down. And then you want to make sure you're getting the right stack, not too much stack, because I just noticed that you can't stack it too high because the crown race or the top crown won't slide all the way down onto the stanchions. But you don't want to have it not stacked high enough, because you want to make sure, you know, you're gonna, you know, it is a gravity bike, but you still want there to be, you know, somewhat of a stack. And the fact that we're doing this on an enduro bike, we wanted to get a little bit more stack. Also, another thing that will really help that is getting a high rise bar. So you want to do like a 50 mil rise bar or anything probably plus 40. This is actually 25, so this is not going to be ideal for this. We're just using this, you know, because this is what we have right now. So we're just using a pipe cutter that we showed you guys that we picked up from Home Depot. So basically what you're going to want to do here is so we got our 2 marks. So this is going to be where we want to cut. You want to cut right between, because you want your star nut or your top cap to set down into the spacer. So we put the spacer on top and then we marked in between each spacer, and then you want that middle point to be in between these 2 markings to be your cut point. The one downside to using a pipe cutter is that you're gonna be left with sharp edges. So you're definitely gonna have to take a file, kind of sand down in here and smooth it out. So I did have to loosen the lower crown, and you know, that's what's holding the stanchions together. So you just have to be super mindful if you do have to do that to access your cut on the steer tube, that you make sure first you know exactly the distance that it was, or you can measure whatever the fork is, 203 millimeters. Second, when you loosen these stanchions come loose, so you want to make sure that they don't get lopsided. So you want to make sure that they stay even. And then we're just going to take a dental file and we're going to kind of just trim right here. So first, you don't cut yourself, and second, so the top cap seat's nice. If you do have the file, guys, please make sure you keep your hand underneath the steer tube and file. Try to, you know, make sure you don't get metal shavings down into your dust wipers, because that is no bueno.
Okay, so we don't have a tool, so we have to go to a local bike shop and use their star nut hammer thing to get the star nut inside or whatever. So we're gonna go to the bike shop right now and get this thing done. All
right, hey, we're here at El Camino Bike Shop, and we forgot our star nut setters, so we're gonna pound this thing in. We just want to give a shout out to these guys for letting us cruise in and use their tools. So let's get to it.
This has like honestly become like quite the adventure. This bike, it's like the story of this. It's like it was gonna take like what, 15 minutes, and now it's like freaking
4 hours.
4 hours later, like, oh my gosh. So yeah, this has been fun though. Let's actually, yeah, let's go put it on.
This is the first Yeti Turquoise Fox 40 2021 fork model install. I'm pretty sure about that. Oh, on a Mullet and all Axis. Axis reverb, Axis drivetrain. We didn't go with the downhill drivetrain. We're running a 12-speed drivetrain. All right, so the last thing is you need to, the bearing that we extracted by pounding on the drive side axle needs to be set back in. You can either use a bearing press, which we usually do, and as you do it, you want to make sure you're kind of holding the axle in place. Basically what's happening is these bearings are going to go together, and it's going to, the O-rings that are on the side of the axle, the bearings are going to push up against those O-rings and cause the axle to seat properly. The axle should be able to move a tiny bit. You know, it shouldn't go up and down, it just might move a tiny bit. Caliper's a little bit better, but you did it.
Heck yeah, man. That was a mission, dude. That's it. Let's get on the stand and get some B-roll of this thing.